What's good, y'all? I'm Stats with Evan, and I'm here to give you my predictions for all 15 games on Week 5 of the NFL slate. Now, as always, these games are completely, totally, and 100% unbiased. That means I'm not basing these off which teams or players I like better. I'm basing these off which team I think has a better chance to win this game, this week. That's it. With that being said, let's get into it. As always, we start with our Thursday night game. This week, we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on the Chicago Bears. Now, already, this looks like a better Thursday night matchup than the one we had last week. Now, first off, the Bears' defense is formidable, but now they're going up against a Buccaneers offense led by Tom Brady that is tougher than any offense they've seen thus far. Now, I believe the Bears' defense is going to keep them in this game, so I don't think it's going to be exactly the shootout that the Bucs are accustomed to by this point. But I still think the Buccaneers offense just has a little bit too much for the Bears, and I think Tampa takes this 27-17 over Chicago. And now we move to the 1 o'clock slate. First up, we got the Los Angeles Rams taking on the Washington football team. Now, when I first thought about this matchup, I thought the same thing that pretty much every other analyst thought. Rams win this easy, let's move on to the next one. But then I saw how both teams played last week. Now, Washington played a decent game last week. The only problem? They played the Ravens. Meanwhile, the Rams struggled against the Giants team, who I believe to be one of the worst teams in the league. So then I started thinking to myself, now if the Giants were able to cause the Rams this much problems, what's stopping Washington from doing the same thing? So for this reason, I'm going with Washington 24-20 over LA. Up next, we got the Carolina Panthers and the Atlanta Falcons. Now, these are two teams trending in opposite directions. The Panthers are getting hot after stringing together back-to-back upsets the last 2 weeks. Meanwhile, the Falcons are struggling to find their footing, particularly on defense. Now, I don't know how much I can particularly trust the Falcons defense that's at the bottom of the league in scoring defense. So I'm going with Carolina to snap their 5-game losing streak against Atlanta. Panthers win it 31-20. I don't know if they're going to play this week, but just in case, here y'all go. Buffalo Bills and the Tennessee Titans. This is a matchup between two undefeated teams, and I believe this could be a playoff preview. Now, both teams have their advantages going into this game if they do play. Can't stress that part enough. Now, the Titans have extra rest, but the Bills have a red-hot Josh Allen. This one's going to be close if it is played, but I'll go with Buffalo 31-28 over Tennessee. Up next, we got the Las Vegas Raiders and the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, there's two ways to go about this game. On the one hand, this is the top two teams in the AFC West going head-to-head in Kansas City. But on the other hand, this might be the field's last chance to make a run at the champs. Now, the Raiders are a decent team, and I still believe they could be a sleeper in the race for a wild card spot. But the Chiefs are just on a whole other level. I got to go with Kansas City 38-10 over Vegas. Up next, we got the Arizona Cardinals and the New York Jets. Now, the Cardinals have gotten cold over the last 2 weeks, but now they face their most daunting opponent yet, MetLife Stadium. Now, with all the injuries suffered on this turf, I'd consider it a victory if both teams could get out of this game with minimal injuries. Seriously, how does this stadium get to host a game every single week? Now, as for the game itself, I'm seeing this as a get-well type of game for the Cardinals, so I'm going with Arizona 31-10 over New York. Up next, we got the Philadelphia Eagles and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Would y'all believe this is a game between two first-place teams? But it's certainly not going to play out like that. The Eagles played their best game of the season last week in San Francisco. I'll give them that. But the Steelers have been playing at this level, if not above, the whole season long. Plus, the Steelers' defense is equipped to handle any weapons the Eagles' offense might have. Even if the Eagles were fully healthy, this is still a Pittsburgh defense that's among the top in the league. So for all these reasons, I'm going with Pittsburgh 34-13 over Philadelphia. Up next, we got the Cincinnati Bengals and the Baltimore Ravens. Now, this one's pretty straightforward. The Bengals have been quietly gaining momentum over the last 2 weeks, But now they got to go to Baltimore to face a Ravens team that's simply put one of the best in the league. In short, the Ravens just have them beat, so I'm going with Baltimore 38-10 over Cincinnati. Up next, we got the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Houston Texans. Whoa, this one does not look appealing at all. The bottom two teams in the AFC South duking it out for bragging rights, I guess. Anyway, the Jaguars have been at the mercy of every quarterback they've faced this season, and the Texans just fired their head coach Bill O'Brien. Now, it's not an exact science to guess how the impact that firing a head coach has on a team, but if the rumors that Bill O'Brien lost the locker room are true, this could invigorate the Texans. So I'll say Deshaun Watson has a get-back type of game, and Houston takes this one 24-21 over Jacksonville. And now we move to the 4 o'clock slate. First up, we got the Miami Dolphins taking on the San Francisco 49ers. Now, my mind went a couple different ways about this game. On the one hand, yes, the Dolphins are 1-3, but the 3 losses were against some pretty good teams, and none of the games were exactly blowouts. And on the other hand, the Niners are a good team on paper, but they're riddled with injuries right now, and they're also 0-2 at home. Now, judging by what I saw Sunday night, I don't know if I could trust Nick Mullins or Bobby Beathard to carry the load, so I'll make this my upset of the week and take Miami 27-24 over San Francisco. Up next, we got the Indianapolis Colts and the Cleveland Browns. Now, in my opinion, this is the game of the week right here. The unstoppable force that is the Browns offense meets the immovable object that is the Colts defense. Additionally, I believe this is a litmus test for both teams so we could see where they're at as far as a competitive level. And this is also a something's got to give type of situation with the Browns offense and the Colts defense, like I said earlier. Now add on that they're both riding in 3-game win streaks, so something's got to give. Now, the Browns offense is hurt with the absence of Nick Chubb, but it's still a potent offense nonetheless. However, I do believe the Colts defense has enough to contain the Browns, so I'll go with Indianapolis 21-17 over Cleveland. Up next, we got the New York Giants and the Dallas Cowboys. Now this one's open and shut. The Giants did play their best game of the season last week in LA, but even then, they only scored 9 points. And now they have to figure out a Cowboys offense that's been lighting up the scoreboard the last 3 weeks. Now, I don't trust the Cowboys defense, and I do think their offense is still prone to mistakes, given the turnovers they had last week against the Browns. So this is going to be a high-scoring game, but at the end of the day, I got to go with Dallas 38-24 over New York. Up next, we got the Denver Broncos and the New England Patriots. Now, I don't know how much I can say about this matchup, but I will say this. The Patriots showed me something on Monday night. They showed me heart. And plenty of it. To go into Kansas City the day of the game and face the defending Super Bowl champion Chiefs, and they stayed in the game the entire time. Now that's impressive in and of itself. Now add on to this, now they're going up against a Broncos team that's one of the most banged up in the league. And I believe they're on their 3rd quarterback of the season in Brett Rippon. So with all this being said, I'm going with New England 31-10 over Denver. Now we move to the Sunday night game. This week we got the Minnesota Vikings taking on the Seattle Seahawks. Now personally, I find it funny how both these teams won by the exact same score last week, 31-23. But as for this game, the Seahawks have one of the most potent offenses in the league, and they go against the Vikings team that's trying to turn their season around. Now what I'm noticing between these two is the Seahawks have been solid for the whole season, playing 60 minutes on a consistent basis. The Vikings, I can't say the same about them. So for this reason, I'm going with Seattle 31-20 over Minnesota. And last but not least, we got our Monday night game. This week, we got the Los Angeles Chargers taking on the New Orleans Saints. Now, last week, the Saints got a win they desperately needed in Detroit, and the Chargers let a win get away in Tampa. There's no other way to say that. Now, LA heads to the Big Easy in the same situation the Saints were in last week. They need a win, and they need it badly. The thing is, the Saints defense hasn't exactly been anything to write home about, but at the same time, the Chargers defense hasn't exactly been what they were a couple weeks ago when they almost took out the champs. Now, this one's going to be high scoring, and I think that's the type of game the Saints can win. So I'm going with New Orleans 35-31 over LA. Well, that's my picks. Which ones do you agree on? Which ones do you disagree on? Let me know in the comments, and until next time, I'm Stats with Evan, and I hope you have a 100% day. Enjoy the games, y'all.